Okay, today I will tell you about the fourth direction. Okay, the fourth direction. So, because I thought this would be very interesting. Basically, each direction is a dimension. Okay, you've got three here, for example. First of all, we're going to look at all the other, every dimension, basically. First of all, if you look at this and stretch, first of all, get a point, 0. That's a point is a 0 dimension because it has no. Think of it being an infinitely small dot, like infinitely small, infinitely flat, infinitely, but it's circle and it's like a dot. It's a point basically. Then now, as you think now extend it. The first dimension is length, but it has no width or height. The second dimension is width, and so the first is length that way. The second is that way. You see, these two directions are at 90 degrees right angle away from each other. They're traveling. So this direction is perpendicular to that one right there, and they both travel in completely different directions. The third one is height, which because you can't see it from here, you can assume that if I go out in that way, from your perspective, going out, looks my hand's getting smaller, doesn't it? From your perspective, but out and in, it's this direction. Okay, so you see that. Um, so look at this. This is a cube right there. You know that this is a cube. It's a dice. But you know the fact that you're watching this on a 2D screen, so it looks like sort of like a projection. For you, it looks actually a projection. I know you can tell it's a cube, but it's actually a projection for you of this dice. Now, um, basically, because this extends into three completely different directions. Each direction is at right angle away from each other, perpendicular. So the fourth one would require it to be stretching in another direction, another mysterious direction. And the reason I call it mysterious is because this direction is not up, down, left, right, forward, backwards, but it's at right angle somehow. It's somehow at right angle, perpendicular from all three of those directions. Say you're a flatlander, okay. Say you lived on a flat two-dimensional plane, okay. You lived on two-dimensional plane, okay, and you encounter a circle. A circle for you would be literally a line. It would be a line. So a circle for you is a line. But a flatlander can tell somehow what shapes these are by touching the sides of them and figuring out how they come together, how they form, if there's a curve anywhere, and find out what shape it is. For example, they can tell something is a square by touching the lines and figuring out if they're the same length or something like that. Now they have the special sense. They have a special sense to tell if it's something exactly uh, um, the length, something exactly it's a square by telling the fact that something has all sides are exactly the same, meaning that they can tell that and they don't have to measure it because they've got this special sense that sort of like we don't have this sense. We don't have a sense that, for example, we don't have the sense to touch something flat like this just to estimate how it is because we don't know. But flatlanders have sort of this measurable sense that lets them sort of figure out what shape this is by touching the sides, the corners, and figure out what shape this is, what how the lines come up together, and what shape it is, such as a square, for instance. So you see here, um, so all they can do is they can move forward and backwards, left and right, and that's it. They can only move in this direction. You see here, unlocking forwards. You can only travel this way. If you're in a one-dimensional space, a 1D creature, a one-dimensional creature, all this one-dimensional creature will do is see this one-dimensional creature will see a point. Even though he's on a line, he's actually going to be staring that direction. He's not going to be staring outside of the line. He's going to be staring to the point. For him, there'll be an endless type of points. So how is he ever going to do stuff there? Well, there's different positions for him to sort of like different estimates between shades. You can sort of work out between shades and something like that. But you see, yeah, but 2 dimension unlocks you to travel in a circle. 2 dimension unlocks a circle, the third one, because the 2 dimensional being cannot really see up and down. So you see here that they don't know what up and down even is. For instance, trying to explain a up and down to a 2 dimensional being would be like a 4 dimensional being trying to explain you a direction that's perpendicular from all three. You know what I mean? Like just like that. So sort of like that. Like okay, just like that. For the being trying to explain the direction that is perpendicular to all three. If you see they're perpendicular. Um, mm, mm. So that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to be like for you. The same would apply for the 2 dimension. Like if you lived in a 2D-dimensional world, yeah, if you put yourself in a 2D world, you would become flat in 2D. But shall I say something? If a sphere entered the 2D realm, like realm of 2D, first of all, a flatlander sees a circle as a line. But what will happen is that if a sphere passed to 3D dimension, they would still see the line, they'll still see the circle like the line, but it would be as if the line is going to shrink and expand, shrink to a certain point before disappearing. You know what I mean? Like it will shrink, disappear, or expand and then disappear again. So it expand and then shrink before disappearing, and then expand and then shrink before disappearing. Now, basically, what the Flatlander does not understand why this is happening, because the fact that they assume that this is a type of special object that managed to disappear somehow. But what is happening is this object is actually a sphere, not a circle. Okay, so it's not a circle. It's actually a um, sphere. Okay. Okay. So, okay. So I'm just trying to get this. Okay. That's there. Okay. Just have to close the door. So you see, okay, I film. Okay, now. So the 3D, because it's actually a sphere which extends into a direction that is perpendicular to the reality. Okay, so it extends in that direction. So basically, what happens is that the sphere passes them. For example, assume that this is the sphere. Okay, let me show you here. For example, assume that this is a sphere. Okay, just there. This is a sphere. A sphere, and this is a line, a circle. Basically, what happens is that as this you live here. Say you live on a flatland. See the flatland plane, okay? And all you can see is a slice of a 2 dimension. Okay. 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 Right, okay. So you see here, um, a bowl. Okay, so you see the sphere, and then you live on a flatland plane. So you'll see a 2 dimensional slice of the 3D, a 2 dimensional slice of the 3D object. For example, a circle for them looks like a line, but a 3D object would also look like a line. For instance, if they pass here, if you get a circle there, if you put a circle, for example, assume that, let's get a circle. You see here, my circle, extending it would look exactly like this, a line. Nothing like the line right there, a line. But if it's a 3D, ball comes in into their reality, they'll still see a line, but except it will be as if the line, yeah, let me show you, as it passes them, right to the middle, the line will appear to be minified before shrinking, disappearing, growing, then shrinking, disappearing. Look at this, for example. So the line is there. It looks as if the line disappeared, but again, as a line, it disappeared, but it went in a completely different direction. You get me? It's gone up. They cannot even imagine, because you can't imagine up and down. So once it passes them like a small circle, it grows bigger, it goes smaller again, smaller, so it's crossing this cross section. So if a 4D object passed, it would look like, say for example, like a sphere. But it would look as if the sphere is at some point a certain size before growing. Okay, before growing and then shrinking again. Because this circle would actually travel, a sphere is actually traveling in a direction that is perpendicular to all three of those directions. Okay, so it's all three, it's all perpendicular. Okay, and that's what's happening. This sphere, you see here, because the sphere traveled in this direction, that was like up and down. You see, it traveled up and down. So, for example, like it looks like there's no circle, but then appear out of nowhere in a small space, and again larger before it's just smaller right there again. So, from our side, when you see the sphere, it could be able to again bigger, bigger. Because you can't, it's going to come at a small spot, a small sphere, appearing at a certain size, then it's going to get bigger again, then it's going to get smaller again. So actually, again, it's not really getting bigger and smaller. It's an illusion for you, because this circle is actually traveling in a direction that's perpendicular to up, down, left, right, and back and forth. So I hope you sort of understand that. I hope you sort of understand exactly what is happening at that position. What would actually be happening. And of course, if there's a fifth dimension, of course you can't imagine the circle like a 4D circle, because like a 4D object, because that object would extend in a direction I can't even imagine. So, that's what this dimension is like 4D, like basically like the one, like you see the sphere getting bigger again and smaller, but it's actually traveling in one direction before it can do it back over again. So you don't know which direction it's traveling in, and you don't know if it's traveling that way or that way. Pretty much, I'm saying the fact that it's not left and right. It's a mysterious direction. So it's a mysterious direction. So you see, I hope you sort of learned the fact that the same would happen for the fourth dimension. I think the fifth dimension. So I'll see you in time, okay? So at the first dimensional being, fifth dimension equals the first dimension. First of all, they'll see the object, but of course we can't imagine what it looks like. But they'll see it. But then it'll appear again as that object itself is getting bigger and smaller, even though it'll just look like as if it's like it can't actually go that direction. But still, so you sort of estimate the fact that you sort of see how it is. Okay. Okay. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.